Hello, I'm Andy, and today I'm going to cast a game, a high level pro game, let's say. So this was posted by Ezad on the German Discord. So he said it was a close and good game, and so that's why I take a look. I also played quite some Japanese in the past or in the last weeks. So I'm also interested in what approach he's going for. And yeah, so first off, the map. We are playing on Punjab. There are a few special features about Punjab. So first off, there's livestock on this map, which benefits Japanese and also Chinese. I think Chinese benefit a bit more from them in the short term, and in the long term, Japanese benefit more from livestock. So they are typically in this river. So what you usually see is you see both players scouting for those yaks, and in this case, the Japanese Neuro whatever, not bothering to pronounce this, so it's just Neuro for me now. And he got a bit better trade than Ezad. He got 4 water buffaloes and Ezad only got 2. And another thing about this map is that you are going for, or that you spawn with a growth rickshaw, which you can use to build trees, so like cherry orchard only for trees basically. So it's okay. Most people just plant it anywhere because you don't run out of wood anyway. So some people just use it to place it here so you can get some scout. I think you get, oh no. Actually you don't see it, okay. Interesting, I thought you had division. So first off, let's talk about the build order. He's going for a H-up with Tori gates. This means he's getting a samurai and a barracks or a rickshaw, which you can use to plant a barracks or a stable. Usually you go for the barracks, just because the Naginata rider is a great unit, but it is a specialized unit, so it demolishes crossbows and stuff, but it loses against everything else, so you often can't afford to start with Naginata. Typically you go for infantry. So for example with Hassa, you can use Hassas to some degree even against musketeers. If you have like 5 Hassas against 5 musketeers, they still can trade kind of decently. It's obviously not something you want to do, but it's still something you can do. And yeah, so Naginatas just basically get countered by everything except archers and skirmishers. So he's going for the Torii gates and he's getting a barracks. He also got an H1 market and he got the first upgrade. Did he get both yet? So yeah, so he started with, I really should have focused more on the build, to be honest. So he went 2 villages first, then 300 export, diplomatic intrigue. This means he can get another military rickshaw and also the Yamabushis. So quite a few of those units. His plan for the Yamabushis maybe is to siege down the trading post. So yeah, and also the Japanese are also a good ally because your units get an attack bonus, and especially at the start your units are not as strong as the enemy units, so that also helps. So they are not as cost efficient as the other units. So yeah, so he got the trading post. I'm not sure what he plans to do with the Yamabushis, to be honest, because he has a lot of anti-cuff already anyway. So they might be a bit of a waste for the moment. Maybe I also forgot about them. So I mean, he got the trading post. In China went for a fast fortress. So that means that's a pretty standard build order for Japan. And yeah, they're very powerful because they get a lot of free units with their Summer Palace and their Confucian Academy. And you also do get, yeah, he can also send the diplomatic or the intervention card, and together with their badge from the consulate, they get like 15 musketeers, and they are also veteran stats already, so he has a very potent army already with musketeers and skirmishers, just with his HAP and one card basically, and his export, which he still has. And yeah, so Ezad now with his musketeers, he got some Naginatas. He also has his melee infantry now, which he kind of uses just... Did he go into this dance? No, I don't think he did. And he just wants to get a trade, I think. The idea is he wants to trade before the army gets bigger. So, but I think China just had too much right from the start. Like 15 musketeers is not something you can overcome with 15 Ashigarus and some melee stuff. And so the Naginatas also cannot get on top of the skirmishers. So not the best trade, and now he's forced on the retreat. And retreating is always painful because you take a lot of shots. So yeah, so now he's forced into his TC. He's also stuck in H2 for the moment. He's also forced to send Ashigarus and train them just to alleviate the pressure he's facing from China. So he cannot afford to age up right now, obviously, because he just lost a fight. And so the good thing though is he has the Torii gates, which means every unit he kills he gets more experience, so he can afford to... So he has like one extra shipment compared to like you would expect if he's not in Torii gates. Now the engagement, so the Naginata want to jump on the skirmishers. They did have a good position though. China also went into melee mode with all his units. I think he could have just hold down this position here and they could never go through here. Because his musketeers were kind of attacking here the melee units, which is not something you want to. You want the musketeers to attack the cav units. So it seems like that Ezad stabilized. So it was a good engagement for him, I think. Cleaned up all the musketeers, cleaned up the reinforcing cav. He cleaned up most of the skirmishers, like there are only 5 of those skirmishers left. Oh yeah, the consulate placement also really isn't helping him at the moment. So another 2 villager kills for China. Keep in mind, Ezad has sent 2 villagers and 4 villagers, so he also has more villagers than normally. He's also not going for a heavy shrine boom, he's only building... He only has 7 shrines on the map. So basically, yeah, he's playing a bit more aggressive with Japan, which is perfectly fine. And so this also means usually if you go for full shrine boom, you do not have the map control for all the hunts. So you often have to place shrines where no hunts are, so they are not as effective. And with this low number of shrines he has, he can place them near only the hunts, and this means he's getting the most out of them basically. He's lacking the Wonder though, and also Heavenly Kami, so they are also not as strong. I think this is actually one of... Torii gates seems to be a bit more of a standard build order for Japan nowadays. It used to be only the big shrine. And I think the idea is you get a lot more presence on the map and can contest the map a bit more, because the Wonder is a bit greedy and you're often stuck in your base for a long time because your army cannot compete, and you also kind of lose the shrines on the map if you're not careful, or if the enemy is paying attention and is and is forcing it, you cannot use all the shrines. So here a little skirmish. So he is maybe getting, I think it was still an okay trade for the most part, like 2 units are basically dead. He also killed a Chengadeo, so it only lost a Ashigaru, so I think that's a decent trade. Now Ezad is forced to send the berries. There are a lot of berry bushes on this map, so if he would be greedy, he could also just send his villagers here. But then again, it's hard to defend this kind of map if he's going there, and then your villagers will be running around forever, not working. And so he's just sending the cherry orchards to have some safe gathering. Basically, he's also sending exactly 9 villagers into. Oh, I'm saying this, and he's sending exactly 8. So typically, you want to have 9 villagers in UTC. Do you want to have 10? No, you actually want to have 10 villagers in UTC. With 10 villagers, each villager gives you 9 attack, and that means you, like, every villager over 10 is not giving you any benefit anymore. So this means you're sacrificing 10 villagers for a little bit of defense, and this is exactly what he needs. Oftentimes you use the town center to kill the artillery, so oftentimes you would also do this against Falconet pushes, like the 2 Falconet card. And because Japanese struggle a little bit with versus artillery, I mean, they have Yabusame riders, which are strong against artillery, but not against much else. And you also have access to Flaming Arrow, which have a bit more range than the other artillery. But that's about it. And Flaming Arrows are not, in my opinion, not the best unit. Overall, they are kind of squishy, they don't do much damage, and everything for 2 range seems a bit of a huge trade-off. So now some raids are going on. He's staying active on the map. He's still committed to H2. I think Ezad has a bit better economy, but then again maybe not, because Summer Palace and Confucian Academy are basically factories or mini factories. So in the end, his few shrines, I mean, he boomed up to almost 200 population with shrines, so his economy is actually decent, I think. But now he's forced to defend against this push. He's sending the Shigaru attack, and he's waiting for his pop here for his Naginata, so he gets a good surround, or he can get a good surround. But China also chose this very strong position here. It's very hard to push near a coin mine because your units, obviously they can't walk through coin mines, except if they can for some buggy reason, but it's usually not normal. Normally they can't. So which means this flying crow is basically unkillable for his Naginatas, and also the Arquebusiers can stand around here, and it's very hard for your Cav to get on top of them. And this means China is getting a good engagement, mainly because it shows this nice position here, and yeah, it can't be pushed basically now. The angry villagers come out, and they want to slap this flying crow to get rid of it. They are annoyed by it. They don't want their town center to be destroyed, so they are getting to work themselves. Yeah, but this looks really dicey for Ezad now. So he kind of defended it. I think he's fine for the moment, because he killed most of the siege, so no more cannons are here. But he also doesn't have any units anymore, and he did need to sacrifice a few villagers. But then again, China is skipping on villagers. I don't know if it's intentional. I would say it's usually a bad decision to skip on villagers. But maybe he is he wants to play super all in and invest everything into stuff to finish this game now. Which he is likely to do, to be honest. He has the chance, he's in a leading position. And yeah, that means he can try to do that. It can make sense, but then again, I would say not making villagers is a mistake 99% of the time. Especially because he has some coin and some wood in his bank, which means if he would transition some to food, he could afford to train more. Villagers while doing the same thing he's basically doing at the moment. So this looks like GG to me, to be honest. So honestly, I would probably give up. So let's quickly see what... Oh, this is a position where most people would consider giving up. So I don't know if I would give up yet, but he has lost a lot of villagers here. Maybe with his Naginata pop, that's what he's hoping for. He can finally get a cleanup. Yeah, he should be able to get a cleanup, but the arquebusiers, the reinforcements are here already. I think this is not a good decision to move in like this, those arquebusiers, because there's no anti-cav and Naginatas. They do extra damage against skirmisher type. Oh, and I think he's not looking. Is he getting raided or no? He was fixing his economy basically. Yeah, I think China thought this game was over already, so he just kind of stopped playing. So he threw his advantage a bit, to be honest, because he's not training anything. So he's a lot of resources in his bank. He had a lot of idols. He's not training villagers. He's kind of throwing away his arquebusiers. I mean, he's still fighting against villagers. He's still angry, but he has to go back now. So yeah, and all things considered, like China, because he skipped on the villagers all the time and didn't make any stuff anymore, and was idle for a long time, Ezad is actually in a position where I would say he's in a better position. So, but I would say it's mainly because China made a few mistakes, and also Ezad played it really well on the defensive. So I also give him that. And now he gets to clean up those arquebusiers. And this, like if he would have gone back with the arquebusiers China did this, and just regrouped, because those 8 arquebusiers, they could have been a real pain against them, or as soon as there is some anti-cav again on the map. Oh, some raiding was going on here. He's getting the berries. He's sending his villagers out basically everywhere. So with China you can often do that. So not with Japanese, I mean. So China also didn't scout these berries, so he's not aware that here could be villagers. Also, if the Naginatas can snipe this flying crow, that would be really good. But they only... Yeah, that was a bit ambitious. Yeah, so with Japanese you can oftentimes you can play so aggressive with the resources, because you have shrines on the map anyway, so you have a lot of vision, and most people will just try to kill the shrines when they walk past by these. So oftentimes you can afford to do this kind of stuff with your villagers. So this map is also really good for Japan, because there are like 15 extra berries, or even more. There are like 20 extra berries. So you shouldn't never be in a position as Japan where you switch to rice paddies on this map, as long as you secure some map control basically. Okay, so the game slowed down. Both have invested a lot in their push. China needs some time to get their units out already. He's preparing his Manchurian cavalry, so the Manchurian cav archers, mercenaries. They're pretty standard range cavalry, so I think they do have higher rate of fire but lower damage, but we will see them out soon. I think it's a good decision. Yeah, they have 1.5 rate of fire, they have melee resist, so they are kind of like the normal cavalry archer, the Ottoman, and the Russians can train, except the stronger version of it. So they are good, I would say. So I think also China has the right idea again. So he's waiting for a mass. He has a big amount of anti-cav now. He has 2 flying crows again. And these 2 flying crows mean that they're very... I think artillery is very hard to deal with for Japanese in almost all cases. So yeah. Also probably not the best idea to try to save a 1 HP or almost 1 HP Naginata rider and lure the enemy near your villagers. Now he's getting some good raids in. Also I think a good decision by the Chinese player. I would have liked if he kept some units near his flying crows. Exactly for this reason here. Because they might be sniped by 3 Naginatas. And this is actually a big deal, if you ask me. Because these flying crows is all the siege he has basically. And yeah, this is the sieging power of Chinese at the moment. So at this point, Ezad again. He's moving to H3, so that's why he has so little units. But he also is in a huge pickle. I think he depleted all his coin mines at the moment. He's also, I think he's switching his shrines now to coin. Yeah, exactly for that reason. He lost some villagers again, and his army is non-existent. So China has a good mass of cavalry and some infantry. And I think with 2 flying crows, he could just finish the game. To be honest, this looks just super over. So this game looks super over to me. Like Ezad has 0 units, he's on his way to the next age. I think that's the only thing he's got going for him. He has no cards stacked up. Now he has 7 Ashigaru musketeers and a few Yamabushis together with their 6 Yumis they get from their age up. That's a decent mass. But still this army can't just kill it again. Can't just kill the enemy army basically again. So yeah, so if you're wondering why was this army moving so slow, so okay, let me finish this point first. So they have this mode where they take or get extra range resistance, this stance or this formation, and so he put them in. They get extra range resist, but they are slower. And yeah, so that's why his army moved with basically no speed. Getting the Yumi up? No, he's getting the Ashigaru upgrade. And yeah, imagine if China would have 2 flying crows now, then he could just come with his flying crows here and start sieging down this. But still, he's also just heading for the villagers. To be honest, I would just like those few melee units are slowing down the entire army. So he's now starting to split them up. Like Ezad could do 2 things at this point. Either he sacrifices his villagers. Here, I think he cannot save many anyway, because his army is a bit too far away. But his army is here, so he could try to attack these villagers. I think he should be aware because those hunts are dead here. And he's not hunting here, and he needs to hunt somewhere. He could try to go for these villagers and go for a villager trade a bit. That would have also been a possibility. But he's choosing to try to save as many villagers as he can. And he's saving 3, so... okay, so I thought he would send them again to their death. And he maybe gets a decent trade-off. Again, I think I would just sacrifice those melee units and walk away with the musketeers and the Manchus. I think China's taking way too much damage on the retreat here again. So... yeah, just send those militia, they are low HP anyway, this Disciple and the Chengedeus on the Ashigarus, and then he would be okay. So I thought Ezad was dead 2 times already, but he's still going, he still has his shrines, they are for the most part untouched. He has a good army of Ashigarus, I think he sent the 8 Ashigarus, so... and also he has some food in his base still left, so he's fine with that. And his shrines, he still has 16 shrines, so 16 shrines on coin is like 10 villages on coin, so he can afford double Rex protection for the most part. And he's just making only Ashigarus. And I'm wondering, where is the Flying Crow of China? It should be one out already again, right?
Yes.
Okay, so again... So China went for the petards. 5 petards is enough to kill... to not kill a TC. Oh, it's enough to kill a TC. And it's enough to kill a Wanda. So he could do that. Maybe he wanted to do that. Now he goes for the engagement. His army is mostly cavalry, so he really lacks those arquebusiers he would need. Like, imagine if you would have 8 more arquebusiers and 2 more flying crows. Like, this fight wouldn't be even a fight. But this fight is, for the most part, like, Ezad is losing it, and I think he also got a burst trade. But then again, he killed a lot of those expensive cavalry units of Neuro, and now I think he cannot chase anymore. Yeah, so he sees that. And also you have to remember that China is basically running on a timer. These villagers here are still gathering food. This should not happen. Is he aware that there are berry bushes? Yes. So at some point I think he should have sent a few Chingadeos or maybe 5 musketeers here to just kill those shrines, and in this moment he would realize that they are villagers gathering berries. And then he would deny this eco also. I think the cherry orchard... oh yeah, he killed the TC actually with his petards. Well, that's annoying for Ezad. But now again, he tries, because Ashigarus have a higher movement speed than most other infantry, and because he has more Ashigarus than he has skirmishers. Oftentimes what you can do with Ashigarus, you can chase skirmishers, or you can fight against skirmishers. That's something you cannot do with most other musketeers, just because they can just hit and run and you will never be able to do damage. But because Ashigarus do have a higher movement speed, you can do that. Once you see you have like double the amount, then you can do that, and that's what he did. He also denied some villages again. Like, Ezad is still on 27 villagers. I think China at this point, I think China is still very far ahead. So at this point he could very well afford to just chop wood for rice paddies so he's not getting raided like this, or maybe even get walls up here, so he can exhaust the rest of the resources here. Because I think China should still be aware that even though China has shrines, he also checked the berry bushes here again, so that's also well played by China. Even though Japan has shrines, China should be aware that he killed a lot of villagers during all these times. And also he killed a TC, which Ezad has to replace, and which he now did to receive more shipments. Now Ezad is going for the economy shipment of 7 villagers. So he will catch up with villagers again, and it's somewhat competitively again with his villagers. And Ezad is also just spreading out on the map with his musketeers to raid as much as he can. Did China send the card? Yes, so China sent the Saiga Herd card. This card gives you 4 hunts in each of your village. So that's why he has some extra food. And that's what he's using now, but he's slowly running out of stuff to hunt. He could, I mean, he still has the berries, so he can also just get the berries for the moment. But he's running out of resources slowly. And Japan does run out of resources a lot later than most civilizations. Oh no, now let's pause real quick. So what's happening now? China is in the base of Japan again. First thing he's seeing that there's a TC again, so he rebuilt it obviously. But Japan also was raiding with 2 batches of 10 musketeers, and they group up in China's base. So now we are in a base trade situation. The 3rd batch of musketeers got picked up by those arquebusiers. So yeah, China still has more units, and I think the better units. Just really check real quick. So 10, 25. He has like 40 musketeers, and China has like a few musketeers, then 22 arquebusiers, a bit of cavalry. I think in a straight up fight, China would clean the musketeers up, but Ezad is taking advantage of the speed of the musketeers, so he's avoiding a straight up engagement again, and he wants to not fight basically here. Let's see, does he have? He has 15 villagers in his town center again. He's popping the militia, so because he rebuilt his CC, he can pop them again. And thanks to his positioning, so he went back. He forced the Flying Crow to move forward on his TC basically, and then he could pop his militia on the Flying Crow, and that means the Flying Crow just dies against the militia. So this looks still dicey, but it's again looking defendable because the high siege units are away. The anti-cav is dead, almost dead, which means he cannot, and also the melee-cav is dead, so he can save those Ashigarus and can engage whenever he wants. He's also now focusing the Manchus, because they have melee resistance. They do kind of die fast against town center fire. And now the next shipment pops the 5 Naginatas, and 5 Naginata means that those skirmishers do have a bad time. He cleans up half of the skirmishers with the 5 Naginatas. Also, for some reason, the villagers also come into the base. If you don't know, the TC has extra damage against villagers, so those villagers don't have a great time. Also, one odd thing, if the TC is killing something, you're not getting the extra Tori bonus, basically. And now we're in a position where, for the first time in a long time, I think Ezad has the better economy. I mean, I say that, and he loses another big amount of villagers here. So again, low eco. Both have only like 30 villagers worth of economy. I would prefer Ezad's eco at the moment, to be honest, because he's gathering on his upgraded berries. They run out soon, but yeah, they are, at least for the moment, they are upgraded. And China's berries, China is also on berries, so I think this is overkill. I think you should just keep them on the berries. They won't be gathering any more resources here. I would just keep them on the berries, to be honest. I think China also runs out of shipment, so he exhausted all his shipments basically. He has the northern refugees card, so which gives him like 5 to 10 villagers depending on how many villages and town centers he has. Oh wait, engagement here. Should probably. So he's attacking with his Ashigarus again and his Naginatas. Sadly, the anti-cuff, or sadly for Ezad, the anti-cuff is not dead yet, so the Manchus are still a thing. And maybe he could have even went for ninjas to run and kill them, because they 2-hit them, I think, instead of the shinobis. Maybe that would have been an option. Also, yes, where did all the villagers of China go? Did they all went to this coin mine here? Yeah, those stepriders are cleaning up their shrines, so the economic advantage of these shrines, which Ezad had for a long time, now slowly diminishes. And also he has access to these hunts again, the China player that is. So that's a good decision in my opinion. Personally, at this stage of the game, at 34 minutes we are already now, I would plant down some walls here, especially if someone is playing as aggressive as Ezad with his Ashigarus. So, of course, walls wouldn't be like they won't slow down forever, but it's enough time to move your army there and to move your villages away. So it is a good decision in my opinion. And walls are basically for free. So they cost like walling this part here costs like 50 wood or something, if you do it without pillars. And yeah, so Ezad still at 21 villagers and he's losing his shrines. He would be forced to place his shrines at positions where they are not as efficient. He's also trying to, I think he's going for the berries here. He's also checking the berries here if there's someone gathering. He also thinks that maybe he's on these silver mines here, but he's not. So yeah, I don't know why these Manchus move here, to be honest. How does he know? Or did he see them at the village here? But because the Manchus are over here, maybe that was some 200 IQ play. Because the Manchus are here, there's only a small amount of anti-cuff here. Yeah, but it's enough to deflect it, to be honest, because they're not very good. Like if these are Hassa, he maybe could have overwhelmed this, but like the anti-cuff and then clean up the army. But now he finally calls it. So close game until the very end, low eco game, many villagers lost on both sides, but especially for Japan. I think what made it close was after he cleaned up Ezad here and the 8 skirmishers walked in here, or arquebusiers walked in here, and they got picked up by 3 Naginatas, and then a few moments later those 3 Naginatas also killed 2 flying crows, that's what made this game close again. So well played by both sides. And yeah, GG, well played to both sides. Interesting game in my opinion. And now we can maybe look at the statistics real quick. So Ezad had 10k more resources. So even though he had less villagers, shrines made up for that for the most part. But he traded worse. I mean, that's to be expected because he was in H2 for a long time and his army composition also wasn't ideal against the... I mean, he had to go for the army composition, but it's not... Like, typically you want to have something more... something against the cannons, and maybe he was forced to take bad engagement for the most time. Maybe that's more accurate. Also, these resources might not tell the story of the game, because Summer Palace and the Flying Crows you got basically for free, and in 35 minutes those can amount to the 10k resources. So I think the resources are relatively close. Yeah, Ezad had a lot more combat experience. It's mainly because he had the Torii gates early on. He also had a lot more shipments, mainly powered by the Torii gates, and his economy was better for the most part throughout the game, but his technology was worse also for the most part of the game. So especially as he aged up here, he got cleaned up almost completely, and that's not something you want to happen. Ideally you want your upgrades first before you lose your army, but of course he didn't have a choice because his town center was under threat, so he had to use his army to defend. But ideally you want to age up, then you upgrade, and then you want to have a fight. Villagers, Ezad just loses 15 villagers, then again 15, 30, then he builds them back up again and loses 20 again. And China at one point lost a lot of villagers too, but mainly Ezad lost a lot of villagers. So yeah, interesting game. Thanks for watching and see you guys around. Bye bye.